What does the path to a sorely needed victory for the Miami Dolphins on Sunday against the Chargers look like? Glad you asked.
You are Locked On Dolphins, your daily Miami Dolphins podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Miami, welcome to another episode of Locked On Dolphins. It is your team every day here on the Locked On Network. I'm your host, Kyle Krabs, a lifelong Miami Dolphins fan, host of Locked On Dolphins, co-host of Locked On NFL Scouting, author of Touchdown Miami on Substack, NFL staff writer for A-Z Sports. Want to give a special welcome and shout out to our everydayers because it is your team every day. We don't just say it, we live it. Today's episode of Locked On Dolphins is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. What does victory look like on Sunday for the Miami Dolphins? I know for some of you, victory is a loose term where if you really want change, you might be rolling your eyes at the headline of today's show. I get it. It's reached a critical mass. It certainly feels like it, and the Dolphins have the Chargers flying across the country to have the team that picked the quarterback immediately behind the quarterback that you picked, coached by the coach that your owner has been in love with since 2011 when he got on his private helicopter and flew to California with Tony Sparano still as the head coach of the team. And it's all coming to your stop in your house for a 1 o'clock game with a team sitting 1-4 and a chance to fall to 1-5. Man, a lot of storylines. Not compelling for AFC conference standpoint, as the Dolphins have fallen off of the pace in that regard. But you first have to start with who is going to play in this game. There was obviously concern with Tua Tagovailoa showing up on the injury report with hip and left thumb injuries, left-handed quarterback, so that always sets off some alarm bells. He's been officially cleared. He's been a full participant in each of the last 2 days of practice. Tua is good. His center, not so much. Now, Aaron Brewer said in the locker room after Friday's practice that he expects to play, which fires me up. Mike McDaniel used some different language, saying he's hopeful that Brewer will play, but that's going to be based on physically how he responds after a limited week this week with a pectoral injury. And I just do not have the willpower to watch an offensive line that's now potentially down Aaron Brewer on top of everything else. It feels very 2023, right? You have your left tackle. Austin Jackson played in 2023. You have your most frustrating performer is still hanging around. That's Jonas Vainaya, but potentially center, right guard, right tackle could all be backup players. And you would be, based on your offseason program roster, on your fourth option to play center. And you're on your third option to play right guard. And here we thought the Bullygate offensive line curse was going to pass us by this year. Nope. It's back and better than ever. Now, Aaron Brewer, to be fair to Aaron, and Aaron very well may suit up and play. He said he intends to. He plans to. But I don't have the willpower to watch potentially Daniel Brunskill, Cole Strange, Larry Borum as the center over. And the implications for the Dolphins' offense. But that's where he's standing. Aaron Brewer is officially questionable to play. If you are indeed rooting for a win, no judgment either way. Let people like things. Let people have their opinions on how things get done. I do believe, it's not where you pick, it's who you pick. I do think there's always opportunities to pick right players, with the exception of some rare blue chip talents, right? The Chargers offensive line today in practice. It is, I'll make sure I get it right. Bobby Hart is the right tackle. Austin DeCoulis was the left tackle. Now, the interior trio that they have is the interior trio. The waterfall effect of what that means for the Dolphins and their front structure and how they choose to play defense. Tyrell Dodson is ruled out. He's in concussion protocol. I want to get into how to play defense here in just a minute. But these offensive tackles for the Chargers relative to Miami's potential right side of their offensive line makes this the potential to be a pretty chaos-oriented game because both teams are stressed pretty significantly in key spots. Deshaun Hand, we won't see Deshaun Hand, who obviously left this year in Miami to go play for the Chargers. In free agency, he's going to miss this game, which is a bummer, but we will see Tier Tart, who was in Miami, was it 23 and didn't make the roster as part of their, or was it 24? With their collection of, it was their 24 group after Christian Wilkins left. He's landing on his feet, though. He's playing well. At least we're going to see the offense not being run by Zach Wilson / Quinn Ewers. And I know there's a lot of people who listen to the program who chime in and are very emphatic about seeing Quinn Ewers play. Give it time. I'm not there. I don't have the bandwidth for Quinn Ewers, just like I don't have the bandwidth for fourth string center, third string right guard, swing tackle on your offensive line before we even hit the midway point of October. So that's kind of the who's who of the injury elements of this game. Dolphins will be without Tyrell Dodson. I'm interested. I want to see how that works with potentially Willie Gay and KJ Britt. I won't say I'm excited because they haven't figured out the right buttons to push from their personnel standpoint in all the other phases of their defense yet. But the jigsaw puzzle can help be dictated by what the Chargers have going on if you're able to get guys to do what I think Teron Armstead said this. I went on the set last night with Teron Armstead. We talked for an hour and 10 minutes. A great conversation. I'll put a link in the show below. But he asked me what time I thought it was for Miami, and he gave his time. So we'll talk about that with the defensive side of the ball and what structurally I think needs to be done as far as who you have on hand for hands on deck to get the product better. We'll talk about that next here, Locked On Dolphins. Make sure you guys stick with us. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow from over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. If you need parts fast for a project, Supply House has next-day delivery. Talk about a game changer. Join the free Trade Master program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHNFL5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. Teron Armstead told me last night it's draw the line in the sand time. And to a certain degree, I agree with him. Because Anthony Weaver said when he watched the tape back defensively from Sunday against the Panthers, it made you want to throw up. Well, we're in the same boat, right? Everybody who watched that game felt a certain kind of way about it. About overcorrecting on being amplified on trying to generate turnovers by attacking the ball without formally tackling the ball carrier. I get that. But also, Mike McDaniel said they played not to lose on Friday. They got a lead and played not to lose for a majority of the game. Hearing that kind of stuff's just disappointing because, yeah, there's communication issues that can happen. There's challenges in finding the right personnel to mix, especially with some injuries. And you have injuries at nickel corner, and you have injuries on your offensive line, and you have a lot of new players on the defensive tackle room, and you have new players and some injuries in the rest of the secondary. So I get it. I get that part of it. But to hear the feedback say, yeah, we just kind of decided we weren't going to tackle because we were going to try to force fumbles, and we coasted and played not to lose instead of playing to win. All these coaches were here last year, right? You got leadership that understands what the messaging from this coaching staff is. And it's not like a lot of your culprits are young guys. Oh, rookies and second year players to some degree. Like, I get it. But it's a lot of guys that are not first and second year players that are having some of these issues as well. All the context clues seems to seep towards this is not just a talent issue. And I believe it's not just a talent issue. Right? It's a messaging issue. It's an energy issue. You watched the game last night, the New York Giants playing the Philadelphia Eagles. The energy. You watch Monday Night Football with Liam Cohen, and then that team, like that, there's a cohesiveness and an energy and a direction. And Miami this offseason, as you reflect on it in hindsight, and my entire offseason focus is here's what they're trying to achieve. But the offseason for Miami feels like you're trying to achieve a whole bunch of different things at the same time. We want to get more physical in the trenches, so we're going to have a youth movement. But then as a part of that youth movement, we're going to tell you that Jonas Vainaya is at left guard because he's where he's most comfortable until Frank Smith on Thursday says, well, we actually had visions of a long-term pairing with Patrick Paul and Jonas Vainaya on the left side of the offensive line. So it wasn't never really about the product right away as much as it was about the product long-term and what our vision for that was. Okay, then why were we told for 4 months that Patrick Paul has Jonas Vainaya playing next to him because that's where Jonas Vainaya is most comfortable in the offense, despite the fact that he's never played left guard before, right? Hey, we want to win. We want to be competitive, but we are going to do so with principle on our budget. I can respect becoming more fiscally responsible. But then some of the transitions of adding a Matthew Judon to the roster, right? And they voided that contract out. So there's going to be cap implications for 2026 and dead money in for Matthew Judon to sign Matthew Judon. What, at the end of training camp? Midway through training camp? It all just belies different agendas and different initiatives because you have people on different timelines. And that's inevitable when you make the kind of changes to your football operation over a course and period of time with a course correction here and a higher change there and a firing there and another course correction here. And you do it long enough and you pull out the map and you didn't go anywhere. I made a bunch of left turns and I left turned myself back into one big circle. So that for me is where you hear some of the feedback on things that are what they are tabbing as sources of problems. And it is a discouragement for me personally as we try to sort through problems and solutions and what the road forward looks like and who should be a piece of it and who should not be a piece of it and all that kind of stuff, right? We're setting the stage for probably some very seismic changes to this organization this offseason. But in the meantime, how do you play defense against the Chargers? I think for me, the line in the sand piece of Teron Armstead saying that to me really does resonate because I don't think this is the week where you play a lot of base defense because the Chargers do have Quentin Johnston They have Ladd McConkey. They have Keenan Allen. And they're down running backs, right? I think you as Miami, your plan coming into this game has to be some combination and pairing or trio of the defensive tackles that we have has to decide, to borrow the phrase from Cam Smith, that they're going to let their you-know-what drop. And they're going to play at the line of scrimmage, right? Because it's Zion Johnson, Bradley Bozeman, Mekhi Becton in the middle. But then it's Bobby Hart and Austin DeCoulis at offensive tackle on both sides. Setting the edge should not be a problem. So it's who is going to play like they can hold the point of attack in this game. And if you do, we should play you more. And if you don't, I don't even need the splash plays. I just need somebody to anchor at the point of attack. Who are those guys going to be? But I think from a coverage standpoint, in my opinion, I think that the pathway here is probably a lot of cover 2 with safeties up over the top on both sides. Get really physical on the edges, where you can jam those guys within the contact window, and disrupt the timing, and then try to let the tackles show up in pass protection, and your edges have to go hunt. The challenge here, of course, is short downs, early downs, long and late downs, 1st and 10s, 3rd and 2s, 3rd and 9s. That recipe. But for me, I don't care what Bradley Chubb's sack incentives and playtime incentives are. Chop Robinson should see the field more. Whether it's successful or not successful, because he's a player that's going to be here next year. He's a first-round pick last year, playing 32% of the defensive snaps the last 2 weeks. And he was good against Carolina, minus some BS roughing the passer call that he had. I think you have to charge your defensive tackles with growing up. I don't need you to be Superman, but I need you to be able to hold a double team. Who wants to do that? Who's going to decide it's their time to do that? And then I think with cover 2 and being really physical on the perimeter, you can let, if you're in obvious passing situations, that's when I think you can let the tackles for the Chargers show up offensively. But this is not the game, I think, to have your 7th guy in coverage be Bradley Chubb, Jalen Phillips, or Chop Robinson. I think you got to play 4 down in this game because of where the Chargers are able to in the passing game stress you otherwise. Now, if they come out and they play a bunch of 12 personnel, then yeah, you're going to be base defense. And in that case, the conversation applies to everybody. And I would expect them to play odd front defense with 3 interior defensive linemen in the game. Zach Sealer, Jordan Phillips, and either Benito Jones or Kenneth Grant or whoever else. But those 2 first guys, Zach Sealer's got to be on the field because he's Zach freaking Sealer, and we need Zach to remember who he is. And then I don't think it's a negotiable for me. I think Jordan Phillips, there's going to be ups and downs, but that guy can play the point of attack. So I want to see more from him. But that's me. We'll see what they are interpreting it to be and what they choose to do. A few things I'm eager for in this game. We're going to get into that next here on Locked on Dolphins. Make sure you guys stick with us. NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer that you do not want to miss. Right now, new customers get bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5. If it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus and bets to use across the app. One thing I love about FanDuel is no matter how you choose to play, FanDuel has it for you, whether that's parlays, player props, live lines during the games, you name it. It makes watching football even more exciting when you have something on the line for yourself. So whether you're a casual fan and love diving into the stats, FanDuel has game day experiences that will amplify your football watching. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Okay. Things that I'm looking forward to in this game. What's the response to running the ball for 19 yards? With or without Aaron Brewer in the game. Because I don't think your answer is, oh, we'll run more things that get Aaron Brewer in space. You watched the game last night. Was the Giants, and they put boots to rear ends with the Philadelphia Eagles. Shout out to my cat, Logan, making a cameo in the background here. Psst. Dude, what are you doing in here? I really enjoyed watching a coach, Brian Daboll, take a bruising back, Cam Scatterbo, and embrace the idea that 2-yard body blows throughout the course of a 60-minute game become longer runs as the game wears on. And sure enough, Scatterbo finished just short of 100 yards. He had 3 touchdowns. There were short yardage opportunities in there. Now, some of that game result was the Eagles making mistakes offensively. Some of that game result was Jackson Dart doing some really electric things and recklessly putting his body on the line. And he was checked in concussion protocol, and the league's opening an investigation against the team and their handling of a quarterback concussion protocol issue. So hopefully that's one that we can just pass all that bad juju on to the next team, because it feels like that's been following the Dolphins since 2022. But I digress. Cam Scatterbo body blows in the fourth quarter become 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-yard chunks. Can we please one time? Like, I want to see it. And this is a Chargers defense that has yielded yards on the ground. You look at their front, they don't have Khalil Mack. They've got more athletic linebackers and Diane Henley. Derwin James playing on the second level is a big safety. If they play him on the edge, and I know if I'm Jesse Minter, the Chargers defensive coordinator, and I watch the Panthers play 3 odd down and play a mint defensive front and take their safety, Trayvon Moring, and put him as one of the outside guys and play him up in the nickel and say, hey, you're not going to run outside of this guy because he's going to beat the tar out of whoever you send over here to block him. And they're right for 60 minutes. You know what I'm probably going to do if I'm Jesse Minter? I'm probably going to borrow that part of that game plan. I'm probably going to use it. Because as good as Trayvon Moring is, and I love Trayvon Moring, you're not going to find a bigger fan on the Locked On Network, or you're not going to find a better NFL analyst, and you might think my opinions are trash, and that's okay. But you will not find in any space a bigger fan than me of Trayvon Moring. And Derwin James is twice the player that he is. That's my point. So if Jesse Minter takes inspiration from that game plan on how to take away the Dolphins' outside run, what are you going to do about it? Right? This whole season is about coaching and player development. Coaching and player development. Coaching stuff, we're not off to a good start. The player development, we're kind of getting to the point where we could start to observe it. But the concern is a lot of your player development thus far through 6 weeks has been regression candidates. Chop Robinson is a regression player, right? Kenneth Grant not really showing growth. Still early. I'm not going to sit here and hammer Kenneth Grant into the ground. That's not fair after 5 games. Does he need to be better? Yeah. So does Jonas Sinai. I think everybody can recognize that. Patrick Paul's your big win right now for player development. If it was paired with a similar leap for Chop Robinson, we'd probably at least feeling pretty good about that 24 class and say, hey, man, like that, those guys are both on an ascending trajectory that has them to the moon. We can't have that conversation right now. We can with Patrick Paul. Coaching and player development. I have my clarity personally. I know what I feel this season is. I know I feel what this team is. But every time a week goes by and you don't make changes, it's a chance for those in the building to do something about it. So that's where I leave the Dolphins on this Friday, October 10th. It's about 5 p.m. Do something about it. You got embarrassed by the Panthers, team that's won 5 times in their last 21 games. Not a good football team. Unfortunately, right now, neither are you. Chargers coming to town. Everybody's focused on Justin Herbert and Tua Tagovailoa and Jim Harbaugh is the one that got away from Steve Ross. Defense just got ran for 239 yards. Do something about it. For all of the talk about this team and the culture and whether it's soft or not soft and this, that, the other thing, to borrow it from Teron Armstead, draw the line in the sand. Play with the pride, right? Have pride in yourself. Have pride in your group. And change the narrative. Or don't. No, but if we don't, then another thing I'm eager for is to see what Monday brings. We'll be live on YouTube with Jim Grieshaber and Jeff Skinina immediately after the game with our Dolphin Squad show, which we do 2 of every week, one after the game, one midweek on Wednesdays. And then you still have my 5 regularly scheduled programs, so no worries there, right? It's just more of me available in a different medium with some different voices. I'll have my own post-game effort as well. Kyle Krabs, keep it locked in right here on Locked On Dolphins. It is your team every day. Appreciate you guys for checking out the show. Make it a great rest of your day. Enjoy the weekend, and we will talk to you as soon as Week 6 wraps between the Dolphins and the Chargers. Go Fins.